Hello there, welcome to the channel. Welcome back, perhaps. Particularly relevant this time because we are in the middle of something. We are doing different kinds of octave fuzz using the POG 2 into, as I may have forgotten to mention previously, the behringer brassmaster fuzz. Perhaps not particularly recognizable there, but we have already covered an octave fuzz, a fuzz with only 2 octaves up, and a fuzz with both 1 octave and 2 octave up involved. And in the last example we were also playing with the Q of the POG a little bit, which made things a little bit tinny perhaps, especially with one of the other fuzz tones that we were using, the slightly less present one. But now we are going into octave down fuzz after I turn off my air conditioner. So here we go. Fuzz is off so we can hear just the POG, and we're using preset number 5. Let's turn the POG on. If you would like a sample of the unaffected contra sample that we're using, then please refer to the first part of this video. Let's dive in with an octave down fuzz. That's interesting. Something almost woody about it. More spitty now. too. Yeah, very nice there. I'm really loving how that setting interacts with the different fuzz sounds there. I mean, in comparison, the lowest one there, it's almost like a woody sound to it. And then something very bright and electronic with that more high-end setting at the top there. And one of the things I've got in my notes is that this works nicely with the different Q settings. And so, you know, with the different Q settings here, the different fuzz settings here, it just seems like there's so much room for play and experimentation here. And also, another thing in our notes is that this was a really complicated setting to get right, just in terms of like making sure that it was even over, not so much even as interesting over all ranges of the clarinet. And I think that that's particularly challenging when you start introducing the lower octaves, because when it's the lowest range of the clarinet, a lot of that, like when it's an octave down or 2 octaves down, you get into that territory where it is like, you know, it is a rhythm. It is literally like a rhythm going on there. Happy with the work that we've done. Let's move on. So our next setting, which will be appearing on your screen now. And first of all, get rid of these guys. And let's hear it with just the Pog. And this is another one that it was very difficult for us to get together. Something that worked over all registers. Probably for the same reason as the last one, but even more so when it's 2 octaves down. Because when we're in the low register of the contra, it is very much just a pounding rhythm going on there. So, Let's dive in, see how it sounds. Like a growl. Can't not try some of these. That's lovely and raspy. Yeah. I mean, wonderful stuff, that raspiness, the way especially this top setting, the more boosted mids kind of sound, the way that comes across, very, very nice. Once again, it's that interactiveness. Yeah, I like, really, it really does feel like it. There's so much room for experimentation and play and interaction. Okay, now we are on to number 7, and this one is a combination of 1 octave down and 2 octaves down. So what we did here to compensate for this is we brought all of the volumes down, and very, very carefully calibrated the detune. And that was what enabled us to balance out those more intense rhythms that we get with the octave downs, the octaves down. So yeah, another one that was quite tricky for us to get right, but let's hear how it sounds and judge it with how it's doing right now. Here we go. Yeah, this is not the judgment. It will sound very different with the fuzz. Very curious how this will sound. Yeah, that's not really relevant. Yeah, just noting how, you know, this one that we've got it on now, where there's a lot of there's a lot of like low kind of mid cut. Yeah, let's hear that one more time. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's irrelevant. Yeah, that's still quite interesting, but it's not going to be as interesting as perhaps something like this. Oh, it's like a big vibrating sheet. Still some clarity there, though. Yeah, that's lovely. That's usable, I reckon. And lovely up high as well. that does it for us. It's a more muted sound, but there's just that feeling to it of it being like a, as I said, as it was playing, like a big vibrating plate, which of course then into a plate reverb is particularly delicious. Yeah, these ones that were tricky to calibrate with the 2 octaves down, and I mean even 1 octave down, they really yield some beautiful, beautiful effects. Like the internal rhythms that we get with these is something really special, I think. Maybe there is something to this whole multiple octaves fuzz thing. Anyway, let us move on to our last couple of settings, which are combinations of all 4 registers that we've got going here. So these also were quite challenging to find something meaningful there, but once again I believe that we found something worthwhile. Let's see how this sounds though without the fuzz. Very interesting. I'm excited to hear how it sounds. More usable than the previous one. Yeah, really interesting to hear that 2 octave up in there as well. On these lower settings it definitely seems, on these lower settings it does seem to be more apparent. Let's keep going there. Oof. across all the registers, that's got something really interesting to offer. I mean, even the stuff down here, where it's a much more choked, suppressed kind of sound, I do not doubt that there would be situations where that would be interesting, especially with the spring reverb. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how it sounds with this as well. Let's just do that one time through because I can, and it's beautiful. Yeah, there's uses for that. It always sounds so woody down there. Yeah, something almost cathedral-like, or yeah, I mean, the Pog can make a guitar sound very organ-like, and of course the organ is based on being able to introduce different octaves in that way. But yeah, the fact that we can apply that to the clarinet through Fuzz is really, really lovely. Okay, one more to go, and no Fuzz to start off, and we're back to number one. Now this one was created by taking a lesson we learned from the previous one, where we decided we would start by adding in 2 octaves up, and then adding in others and cutting others, like for example cutting the unison to find something that worked for us. So yeah, this one is very like 2 octaves up led, let's say, with the others adjusted around that. So here we go. Yeah, you can really hear that there. Yeah, harsh. Soften it a little. interesting. There we go. Well, I believe that those kind of speak for themselves. At the same time, though, I do think it's worth saying that this has been most worthwhile. I mean, having the spring there to kind of like soften it up at the high end when it gets a little harsh. For all of them, it has to be said, but especially for like that last one. But also being able to like bring the fuzz down to these less harmonically rich settings, and for the stuff from the pog to still have like meaning. Like, I would say there's only been 1 or 2 from those 8 where it hasn't been really usable on the lowest range there, down there. But yeah, I think that it's the interactiveness of these two that is so appealing here. I also do think that it's when we start blending the different octaves together that we start getting the really interesting effects, like I think it was a very growly one that we got with either the 2 octaves down or the 1 and 2 octaves down. But yeah, everything from then onwards really has just had so much character and has been giving the fuzz so much to work with there. Yeah, that's truly fantastic, and I'm very happy with that whole bit of experimenting there. And yeah, I mean, the nightsky is doing its job, and the way that it responds to the overtones that it gets from the fuzz, you know, there's some interactiveness there as well. But yeah, the idea of different octaves into fuzz, I think that's the real joy here. Okay, well, some other stuff that we want to be doing with the pog while we have it plugged in here, but that is for another day and another video. So, for now, I will say thank you for joining me, and I hope this has been as interesting and enjoyable for you as it has been for us. Yeah, some really wonderful moments there. And yeah, I'm having more thoughts. Yeah, being able to play with the cue as well was great in some of the other settings. But yeah, before I get too distracted by all of that, stay well and see you again, hopefully.